how do we discern? So this is going to be a tough question, Kathryn.
Mm.
How do we discern God's will in choosing someone who, in a human sense, may not make sense? And again, I go back to Samuel, the prophet Samuel, in case people don't know, chose shepherd boy David to be the king of Israel.
Right.
Uh, and he didn't become king, I think, like till 13 years later. But it was out of the box thinking,
Hmm.
and also breaking with what is it called when you favor the oldest son? Um, primogeniture. That he was the youngest son, or and they didn't go with the older sons, uh, and so that was a cultural taboo that was broken also. So, all right, big question: how do we discern God's choice that may be so different from what the world or what logic may seem?
Right. That is a great question, Dan. And it's one I grapple with almost daily. I'm still on the journey trying to figure out the answer to that question. Some of the things, though, I am discovering are I cannot underestimate or emphasize enough, I should say, the true power of prayer in the process. And if the board and those involved, myself included, if I am not just constantly in prayer and really developing that, my relationship with Christ has got to be at the the um, the most intimate I can make it in that moment, because I need to hear. I need to listen and I need to hear, and I'm not going to hear that voice if I'm not constantly in communion and developing that relationship so that that voice becomes very familiar when I do hear it. So I really try to challenge boards, search committees, anyone involved, really commit this to prayer on a very significant basis, because we need to be able to hear that guidance. And the other thing is, as you know, even with we're kind of gone through this with him, is to begin with indifference and to pray for indifference, because we all come to the table with our own ideas of what that person needs to be like, what they need to be able to do, what kind of experience they really need to have, and who knows what other specific details we think that person should really be. And we just need to let that go. Because, as you said, we might be led to someone completely out of the box. And if we're holding that view so tightly, we're not discerning. We're asking for affirmation of our own personal opinion. We're not really allowing God's will to be seen because we're holding so tightly to that. So really, letting that go and being comfortable with that, and exploring what would it look like for this individual to actually be our next leader. What is it about them that's attracting us to them? Why are we being drawn to this individual more so maybe than someone else? Because it is kind of out of the box. What if we were to do that? And just allowing yourselves to kind of go to that place, and not to rush to a decision. I had one board. They were so excited about the last person that we interviewed that they literally said, "Well, are they still here? Can you run down the hall and go get them and bring them back? Because we want to tell them now." And I said, "No, he probably is still here, but I think we should all at least go home, sleep on it, pray about it, and then come back tomorrow morning and let me know if you still feel the same way." But they were just so excited, they just wanted to react immediately. And I think that's another part of discernment, is we need to pause and slow down and give ourselves the space to really listen and not just get excited. I mean, you should be excited. That's important as well. But pause.
I mean, I think I'm reading a book now. I think I got this from Mindset by Carol Dweck,
Hmm.
Dweck or EK. And she tells a story, and I can't remember if it was Hewlett or Packard, of Hewlett Packard. But once ever a decision was made, let's say it's David Packard, once a decision was made and it was unanimous with the management team, I think Packard would say, "Okay, we're going to sleep on it. And let's see if there are other things we think of tomorrow after it's ruminated in our minds, like,
Right.
oh, maybe this wouldn't work, or maybe that would work, or this would improve that decision we'd make. And I thought that was fascinating that even a huge billion dollar corporation would say, we're going to put brakes on this, and we want to think about this just to make sure that was the wisest decision. And golly, it is so hard. I mean, how do you teach boards to be willing to have the change that they desire in their heart for an organization?
I'm probably still trying to figure that out a little bit, because that is really hard. Because
it depends on the board.
It depends on the board, and again, it goes back to a lot of times we say that we want change, but our behavior says something different from that. We're not really supporting the change. Sometimes it's just asking a board, imagine what it would be like if this person would be the leader. Describe it to me. What do you see them doing a year from now? How would the organization be different under their leadership? What could we do as an organization if they were a leader that we couldn't do without them? And just try to ask a lot of questions to get them start imagining what this future could actually be that might be different. And sometimes that can get them excited about possibility.